You don't change your future someday. You change it today, because the future is not something waiting for you out there. It is something you are building right now with every decision you delay, every excuse you accept, and every fear you obey. If you don't choose your future, your habits will. If you don't decide your direction, your environment will. And if you don't act with intention, life will quietly decide for you. Most people wait for clarity before they move, but clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from action. Your future will not change because you want it to. It will change when you decide that staying the same is more painful than stepping into the unknown. This moment matters. This choice matters, because one decision made with courage can alter the next 10 years of your life. If you're tired of repeating the same year over and over again, then listen closely, because the future you want is closer than you think, and it starts with what you choose right now. Your future is not built in moments of inspiration. It is built in the ordinary decisions you repeat when no one is watching. Men often believe their future will change once they feel ready, confident, or certain, but psychology tells us the opposite. Confidence is not the cause of action. It is the result of it. From a man's perspective, identity is deeply tied to usefulness, progress, and competence. And when daily actions don't align with that inner drive, frustration grows quietly. From a woman's perspective, consistency matters more than promises, because behavior reveals direction long before words do. Every action you take today is a vote for the man you are becoming, whether you are aware of it or not. Men are wired to measure themselves by momentum, yet many underestimate how powerful small, disciplined choices truly are. Women instinctively observe patterns over time, noticing when effort matches intention and when it doesn't. What feels insignificant to you today is often seen by others as a signal of reliability, ambition, or stagnation. Avoidance today creates pressure tomorrow, and discipline today creates freedom later. Men often delay action to protect their ego, fearing failure more than stagnation, while women often sense that hesitation as a lack of direction rather than a lack of ability. The truth is, the future doesn't respond to motivation, it responds to movement. Comfort feels safe, but psychologically it slowly disconnects a man from his sense of purpose. Men are wired to grow through challenge, not ease, yet comfort convinces them they have arrived when they have only stopped moving. From a man's perspective, comfort protects the ego from failure and judgment, but it also numbs urgency and weakens self-respect over time. From a woman's perspective, prolonged comfort often looks like complacency, because stillness without direction signals a lack of drive rather than contentment. Progress begins the moment discomfort becomes acceptable. Men often avoid discomfort because it threatens identity, competence, and control, even though struggle is what sharpens those very traits. Women tend to notice how a man responds to pressure, because effort under stress reveals character more clearly than success without resistance. Comfort hides potential, while resistance exposes it, shaping how others perceive strength, reliability, and leadership. Staying comfortable today quietly limits tomorrow's options. Men who choose ease over effort often feel an unspoken restlessness, a psychological tension between who they are and who they could become. Women sense that tension as emotional distance or lack of direction, even when life appears stable on the surface. Growth demands sacrifice, because the future only changes when comfort is willingly left behind. Clarity is not something you wait for, it is something that emerges after you decide to move. Men often believe they need certainty before commitment, yet the male brain is wired to understand itself through action, not contemplation. From a man's perspective, hesitation feels responsible, but psychologically it is often fear disguised as logic. From a woman's perspective, prolonged indecision reads as emotional avoidance, because direction matters more than perfection. Commitment creates structure, and structure reveals what truly matters. When a man commits, his focus sharpens, his priorities reorganize, and his confidence begins to grow from evidence rather than hope. Women tend to recognize this shift quickly because consistency in effort signals leadership and inner alignment. What once felt confusing becomes clearer as action filters out distractions and excuses. The mind rewards movement with meaning. Men who commit without full clarity often discover strength, skill, and purpose they could not think their way into. Women observe that commitment changes energy. turning uncertainty into momentum and doubt into presence. Clarity does not arrive like a lightning bolt. It unfolds through responsibility, repetition, and resilience, as the future responds to those willing to act without guarantees. Small decisions rarely feel important in the moment, yet they quietly determine the direction of a man's life. Men often underestimate the psychological weight of daily choices because they don't deliver immediate rewards. But identity is shaped through repetition, not intensity. From a man's perspective, skipping one effort or delaying one responsibility feels harmless, while discipline feels optional. From a woman's perspective, those same small choices are signals, revealing consistency, self-control, and long-term reliability. Momentum is built when small decisions align with a larger intention. Men gain confidence not from grand victories, but from keeping promises to themselves in ordinary moments. Women are highly attuned to patterns of behavior, noticing whether actions match values over time. A man who chooses effort when it woo. Be easier to quit communicates strength without saying a word, because behavior speaks louder than ambition. Neglect compounds just as powerfully as discipline. Men often wait for a defining moment to change, unaware that the defining moment is happening daily in unnoticed choices. Women sense the direction of a man's future by observing how he treats small responsibilities, because those decisions reveal whether growth is inevitable or optional. Time is rarely the problem, courage is. Men often convince themselves that more time will bring readiness, clarity, or confidence, but psychologically, time only magnifies whatever habit already exists. From a man's perspective, waiting feels strategic because it avoids risk and preserves identity, yet hesitation quietly erodes self-trust. From a woman's perspective, waiting without action often appears as fear, because potential means little without the willingness to step forward. Courage begins when action matters more than certainty. Men are conditioned to avoid visible failure, especially when their sense of worth is tied to competence and control. Women tend to recognize that courage is not loud or dramatic, but consistent and intentional, showing up when excuses would be easier. The act of choosing despite fear sends a signal of leadership, not only to others but internally, reshaping how a man sees himself. Fear does not disappear with preparation, it fades through exposure. Men who delay important moves often believe they are buying time, when in reality, they are reinforcing avoidance. Women sense this pattern through energy and presence, noticing when a man feels restrained by what he hasn't tried, rather than empowered by what he has. Courage is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to move while doubt is still present. Action redefines identity faster than reflection ever could. Men discover strength only after stepping into discomfort, while women observe how courage under pressure creates emotional stability and trust. Every moment spent waiting for the perfect time is a moment surrendered to the version of life that requires no bravery. Action changes more than outcomes. It changes identity. Men often believe that transformation begins once results appear, yet psychologically the shift happens the instant a decision turns into movement. From a man's perspective, action restores a sense of control and competence, breaking the internal narrative of being stuck. From a woman's perspective, action alters presence, because momentum is felt before it is explained, and effort is noticed long before success arrives. Movement reorganizes the mind around possibility instead of fear. When a man takes action, his brain shifts from self-doubt to problem-solving, because progress demands focus rather than rumination. Women are highly attuned to this change, sensing when energy moves from hesitation to intention. The smallest step forward can dissolve weeks of overthinking, because action provides evidence that change is possible. The first move interrupts patterns that keep the future unchanged. Men often remain stuck not because of lack of ability, but because inaction becomes familiar and psychologically safe. Women recognize this stagnation quickly, interpreting it as emotional withdrawal or lack of direction rather than uncertainty. Action breaks that loop, replacing avoidance with engagement and fear with responsibility. Responsibility awakens purpose faster than motivation ever could. When a man acts, he begins to see himself as someone who responds rather than waits, creating internal alignment between values and behavior. Women notice this alignment as emotional stability, confidence, and reliability, because action creates consistency. The future shifts the moment movement begins, not because the path is clear, but because commitment has replaced hesitation and identity has begun to change in real time.